This session is going to have 3 speakers. They're only going to speak for 5 minutes each. I have this cat toy / Christmas ornament that is going to tell people when their 5 minutes is close to being up. And then it's going to be your turn. We're going to magically transport you into a breakout room where you have a smaller group of people to work with a moderator and share your thoughts, share your ideas, or even let's just listen in and learn something if you like. Then we're going to come back into a plenary and kind of start to tease out some of the themes that we heard in the breakout sessions. If things are going well and people want to stick around past 5 o'clock Eastern, we'll keep this channel open until there's the last person there. So we can go later if people are dedicated and want to continue speaking. So before we jump into our speakers, we actually have something special to show everyone first. This is, there's an Indigenous performance artist from Gaspésie, Quebec named Q052, who has agreed to let us show his video called Power Generation. And we thought it would be a great way to kick off the session and inspire everyone and kind of sit back and think about what Q052 has to offer. So Kirstin, why don't we start that video and then jump into our speakers.
In every sector, in every section, it's time to take over. People expect independence. We paid the expenses. We've been locked up outside of the fences, but now we're inside and we're coming to get it. Now we're inside and we're coming to get it.
The Catalyst program is an incredibly powerful program. Has produced successes all over the country. They are leaders in their community about affecting change, working to clean energy, combating climate change.
We actually don't own the land owns us.
Indigenous communities to actually be a big player in the clean energy and the climate change movement.
Make it a mission to make a transition, better decisions and lowered emissions, develop advanced energy systems, enhance transition, remote microgrids, indigenous smart kids on smart grids. We are the future, we know what it is, we know our needs, the future to kids. It's time to take over as owners in this. Coast to coast to coast, coast to coast to coast. So what do? Let's bring it home. So what do? Let's bring it home. All the prosperity, bring it home. Energy efficiency, bring it home. Clean technologies, bring it home. Renewable energies, bring it home. That's what we do, we bring it home. That's what we do, we bring it home. Coast to coast to coast. Coast to coast to coast. Coast to coast to coast. Coast to coast to coast.
Thank you for sharing that, Kirstin, and I hope everyone was as inspired as we were around our office and seeing that for the first time. And we'll share that link in the chat as the speakers card so you can share that around with you. So let's jump in. We've got some amazing speakers and experts on energy justice who are going to tell their stories. The first up is Yasmin Abraham. She's the founder of Kambo Energy, and out of some of the people working on this issue, Yasmin has been a tireless champion and a leading voice on issues related to energy poverty, low-income energy efficiency Canada. I know she's a huge Raptors fan. She's probably got 8 other titles and things next to her bio as well, but I'll pass it to you, Yasmin, and you can kick us off.
Thank you. Thanks, Corey. And I guess I feel like I should thank your beard separately because it's like its own thing with a pandemic beard. Thanks, everybody. My name is Yasmin Abraham, Corey mentioned. I am co-founder of the Kambo Energy Group. We are a social enterprise based out of Vancouver, BC, and we have a specific focus on reducing energy poverty and including populations who are often deprioritized in energy efficiency programming. We've been working for over a decade to design and deliver and advocate for impactful and innovative programs that improve the lives and homes of Canada's often forgotten about communities. I'm speaking to you today as an uninvited guest on the unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nation, and I want to thank them for allowing me to live and work and play on their land. 2.8 million Canadians spend more than double the national average of the percentage of their income on energy bills, known as living in energy poverty. For these families, incomes are half that of the average Canadian, around $30,000. And because of the poor conditions of housing, their energy bills are around 30% higher, around $1,800 a year. And you can start to see that it's at this point when families have to make some tough choices in order to pay their bills. These families are living in rundown, inefficient, and sometimes unsafe and unhealthy homes with little financial ability to upgrade them to get out of the cycle of high consumption of bills. Energy efficiency financing programs and rebate programming are important pieces of the puzzle, but they're often not appropriate or accessible to everyone, and they won't work for families who can't afford the upfront costs. In the US, the federal government spends $3.3 billion a year on their national energy poverty program, and that doesn't include state top-ups. Currently, Canada has no such national strategy, which is why we're here today. Without one, our country is left with a fractured, inconsistent, and sometimes ineffective programming across our provinces and territories. I started my career in outreach, doing outreach for low-income energy efficiency programming, talking to people, getting to know them, and hearing their stories. And for those of us, and for those of you who are here today, who have the privilege of being boots on the ground and getting invited into homes, I think it starts to really become obvious how easily our life circumstances can change and how easily you can see yourself in this position. The pandemic has been an awakening. For so many of us last March, only a year ago, when things felt even more uncertain and the future of our country was unclear, many of us had a moment where we considered, what would happen if we lost our jobs? How much are our bills? How much do we have set aside in savings? How long is that going to last? And I think so many of us got a little taste of how it might feel to be in the position that many of these families are in. I was speaking at an event last week about energy poverty, and there was a question on the slide that said, you know, why is this important? Why is energy poverty something we should care about in the transition to build back better? And, you know, to be honest, it kind of threw me. Why should we care? And, you know, we should care because people are going without food and clothing to heat their homes. We should care because families are in a cycle of getting their power shut off over and over and over. We should care because homes in Indigenous communities across our country are spending 3 to 5 times what you and I pay for energy. And we should care because families are heating their homes with their ovens. In this country, we are proud of the fact that we take care of each other. And we're proud that we have a government that's committed to anti-racism, committed to equity, committed to climate change, and committed to reconciliation. And I'm super proud of this event with so many people showing up and demonstrating their commitment to the inclusion of all Canadians as we build back better. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to the event and building the momentum of what we've started.
Thank you, Yasmin. And thank you for forcing me or allowing me not to use the bell. Great, succinct remarks and so poignant and a great way for us to launch into this topic. So I really appreciate that. Next up, we've got Sandy Hopkins. Sandy's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity in Manitoba. And for many of you on this call, you know the great work that Habitat for Humanity does across the country and the world. But what you may not know is Sandy, our speaker, is the recipient of the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal. So we're in the presence of some greatness here. So really looking forward to what Sandy has to say on this topic as such an eminent guest of ours. So take it away, Sandy. Oh, you're on mute still, Sandy.
Thank you. No pressure at all. Good afternoon, everyone, and a pleasure to be here. Habitat for Humanity, as many of you know, but some may not, helps low-income working families to purchase their first home. And as we were looking at how do we really help these families, we realized that the most expensive item in a house from an operating cost perspective, once you have the home, are your property taxes, and number two is energy. We can't do anything about the tax bill, but we thought we could probably do something with energy. And so we set out on a course starting in 2007 to become a much more energy efficient builder. And I can say now without hesitation that we are the most energy efficient house builder in Manitoba in any price range and among most energy efficient builders in Canada. We have built net zero homes. We have built LEED Gold and LEED Platinum homes. The measure of energy efficiency, as some of you probably know, is the rate at which air leaves the house, because that's the rate at which it needs to be heated or cooled to maintain ambient temperature. And the test to determine how rapid or slow the air is leaving a home is called a blower door. And most homes in Canada have a blower door test of 2.5 to 3 air exchanges per hour. The more air exchanges there are, the more air is escaping, the more energy is required to replace it. To be a Power Smart Gold home builder, you can only have a maximum of 1.5 air exchanges per hour. We have managed to get our air exchanges consistently below 1 and often below 0.5. We've had them as low as 0.2. So what does that mean? It means that we have reduced energy consumption by at least 50%, and in many cases greater than 50% in the homes that we build for the families that we're working with. That translates to a very significant cost savings for the family. It is also obviously the right thing to do for the environment, so it's a win on both sides. And building in this manner isn't as tough as some would think. It really is attention to detail. The two things that must be done are build it really tight so the air doesn't escape, as I described a moment ago, and insulate it very well so that when you have the heat or the cold inside the house, it is retained there. We track energy expenses for our families, and we have a couple of hundred homes in the pool that we measure. And our average all-in energy cost, this is heating, air conditioning, hot water, appliances, everything. And I should mention that our average family size is 6, so much bigger than an average, overall average Canadian family size. So lots of usage in the house. And this is Manitoba, where it gets very cold in the winter. Our average all-in energy cost is $98 per month. There's only my wife and I in our house. We can't get close to $98 per month because this is an older home and it's not built the way Habitat builds houses. If you're a low-income family and you're earning $40,000 a year and your energy cost has been cut in half, that makes a material difference to quality of life for that family. That extra $100, $150 a month means a lot. It means the extra pair of shoes, or it means maybe a trip to a baseball game or some entertainment or some kind, but it means it's a material difference in the quality of life for the family. The other thing that's important in the way we build, everything we build is zero carbon. We use electric furnaces in the houses. And we do that for 2 reasons. One of them is that there is no carbon emissions, but the other is that it's far less expensive overall. Now, that may not be true in other parts of the country, but it's certainly true everywhere that the equipment is less expensive, the equipment is more reliable, and the equipment lasts for a longer period of time. So depending on what your electricity costs are in your part of the country, it may be a better option. So I see that I only have a few seconds left before I'm going to have the stage pulled out from under me. So I thank everybody for attending and listening to what we had to say. If you'd like more information, I think Michelle, who is part of our team, has invited you to send us a note, and we'll be happy to explain in more detail how we do what we do. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Sandy. And such critical work you're doing to bring the benefits of energy efficiency to those that need it the most. And that evidence that you shared was really great and inspiring. So really appreciate that. Thanks, Sandy. Okay, our third and final speaker is Jordyn Burnouf. She's an associate at Medicine Rope Strategies. Many of you know her from the Bringing It Home initiative, which was referenced in that great video up front, in her great work in Saskatchewan. But the best thing to know about Jordyn is that today is her birthday, and she chose it to spend it with us. And we just want to embarrass you and wish you a happy birthday. And thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to what you have to share as part of this event. So take it away, Jordyn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corey, and for the nice birthday shout out. I'm definitely feeling the love today. So Tansa, everybody, Jordyn Burnouf Nisikasun Sagatuakoste. My name is Jordyn Burnouf. I'm from Isla Cross, and the Cree word for our community is Sagatuak, and that's where the rivers open up. So I'm so happy to have this discussion today, and I think it's one that is, you know, very important, especially when we're talking about Indigenous communities and Indigenous people getting involved in the mix of you know, not a new concept, but a concept that definitely needs more attention, right? And I think when I look at what energy efficiency is, like from an Indigenous worldview and Indigenous perspective, you know, this is a concept that has existed since time immemorial, right? Like you look at what the true essence and understanding of what conservation means, and you know, to Indigenous people, that was just a common understanding, and that's like the number one rule of existence, is that mutual respect with you know, what it is that you take and what it is that you give back. And so I really like that concept when we start to like talk about energy efficiency and conservation and thinking about it in a way that brings us back to the earth and why we're doing this work, right? It gives it that human essence, that good, that feel good. Because I think that's something, and I know I'm pretty new in the game. I'm standing with next to some giants here, but that's definitely a part of the conversation that is, you know, it's a different concept to understand because it's explained in such a different way, you know. And so when I'm working in my community talking about these things, I think that's a big part of it, is looking at it from, you know, the eyes of your community, and how best does your community understand what it is, right? Without knowing what energy efficiency is, we can't truly start to do the work, right? It doesn't work unless people understand and start to live it, right? So I think, you know, when you look at Indigenous worldview and our understanding of that relationship, you know, with one another, with the land and that concept, it really, you know, brings things to light. But some of the things that I wanted to talk about today include, you know, the ways in which that we move forward through this just transition, right? And you talk about a just transition, and you look at historically what's happened in the energy sector, you know, and not just in terms of efficiency, but you know, historically with like major hydro projects. Right in my backyard is, you know, piles of uranium. So, you know, and you see the injustice and you know, Indigenous communities far too often being left out of the conversation. I was actually just in a session a few weeks ago, and there were so many questions about jobs. Okay, cool. So this project is going to bring 100 jobs to Northern Saskatchewan. I was like, oh my God, this is peanuts. What are we talking about here? Like, let's talk about ownership. Let's talk about being a part of it, right? And so I think this conversation here is so important, and it's so necessary for, you know, everyone, individuals at a community level to really see, like, I live in Saskatchewan, where there is very few opportunities for anything in renewable, let alone energy efficiency. And so, you know, this conversation to me is just so important, not only because I'm doing this work, but because of you know, that history of you know, Indigenous communities and the energy sector, right? So as we move forward through this, we're talking about energy poverty. Like there is very real situations where, you know, like Yasmin said, you know, people are actually heating their homes with their ovens, you know, and living with wood stoves. And, you know, we're seeing the impacts in like a health level, right? And so, you know, we need to start helping people to understand why this conversation is important and putting more pressure at different levels, right? Whether it's at a municipal level to look at your municipal policies, or to go to the province and say more programs, right? And it's everybody getting involved in that conversation, because it's you know, it's cross-sectional. It impacts everything. And you know, the opportunity for communities to start looking at, you know, where the real attention needs to be. We need to like address suicide. We need to address youth incarceration rates. We need to have like real conversations. And it shouldn't be about, can you afford to exist this month? You know, that shouldn't be an issue. We should say, were you comfortable this month, you know, and how, you know, and yeah, so it's a very exciting time, because, you know, there's limited opportunity, but you turn that coin and look at it from a different perspective, and there's so much opportunity for us to make change. So I'm very excited, and I'm super grateful for Kirstin. Like, she has, you know, provided me a platform in many different ways and many different opportunities. And you know, that's what communities need, is allyship, and you know, never to speak for community, but with community, right? So
great.
We're continuing this work. It's working with, not for.
Thank you, Jordyn. And I think, you know, we've had you on a number of our events, and we're always so excited about your passion for this. And the fact that you chose to spend your birthday talking about this shows that you truly are super passionate. So we really do appreciate your time and joining us. So thank you for that. And Graham Anderson, if you're out there, I'm not sure if you could just quickly mute, because we can hear your background. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are at the point now in this event where we now have been inspired by three amazing speakers who've kind of laid it out for us, not in stats or in, you know, papers and theory, in actual real life words. And what we hope is that you take some of that inspiration and you have a discussion in a smaller group setting. And so, like I said earlier, Kirstin's going to press a button and you're going to magically be transported into a separate room. And there's going to be a moderator there. It's going to kind of ask a couple questions and spend some time teasing out different ideas and thoughts that people may have. And now is your chance. And also, this is your chance too to ask questions. You know, some people are new to this space and new to this this concept. This is an introductory piece for a lot of people as well. So please feel free to ask questions using the chat, the Q&A, or come off mute in the breakout. All right, Kirstin, do your magic, and we'll see you all back here shortly.
I don't mind throwing down. I was fortunate enough in my group to have some folks from Habitat for Humanity, and I think across a number of speakers, the comment was made that, you know, when you're a nonprofit builder, you have the benefit of not having to build to make money, but to build to cost effectiveness for the tenants after the fact, and also to show leadership and show innovation, and showcase what can be done. So you can make better choices when you're in that position. And so I thought it tied nicely back to what I think Jordyn was saying, which was, you know, this is, I mean, if energy poverty is truly an energy justice issue, then there's a whole bunch of other benefits and burdens that can be relieved through energy poverty work. I'll leave it at that. I'm not articulating very well. I'm trying to tie together too many ideas, but definitely I really appreciated the focus that was like, we need to get away from thinking that these rebates and and government-led funding programs or whatever need to pay for themselves, or that they all need to be, you know, a financial win. at the upfront or whatever. There's a lot of other non-quantifiable or non-financial benefits, and also non-financial injustices that need to be righted and can be done so through funding into retrofits and energy efficiency.
If I might just jump in one moment on the payback notion, this is really important because the conventional wisdom is you need to have a 2.5-year payback for an investment, for which I laugh at building managers that say that to me, because I say, where do you get a 50% return on your money? And a lot of these like commercial building managers are puzzled when I say that. They say, well, I want a 2-year return, a 2-year payback, which is a 50% return. And they don't equate that as an interest rate. So interest rates today are 2%. So that's what the payback should be.
And in many cases, the condos are leaving their money in the bank at 2%.
Yeah.
And and giving up 35% for new boilers or whatever is there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess what I was trying to get to with Chris and David was also that, it's true that the paybacks are artificially, like, they're arbitrary, but also to Jordyn's point, like, we need to get rid of the white noise of somebody not being comfortable in their home so that they can thrive. And there's value to that investment.
Absolutely.
This is just a means by which to achieve that. And the energy savings or vis-a-vis the investment shouldn't be the only way that we're evaluating the worthiness of a program like that.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that maybe I'm going to call on you, Arif, because you brought it up a couple times, but one of the things that I think is fundamental and underlying this comment is around what the goals are. Maybe Arif, I don't know if you could just spend 30 seconds to kind of just summarize what you were saying around setting proper goals for these types of programs.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. My sense is that we have a lot of programs where people are trying to do a lot of good things, but the goals are very different. Are they the fact that utility programs form part of their integrated resource plan? Is that what we're trying to do with low-income programs or energy poverty? Are we going to go to net zero? Is that our goal here? What are we trying to do? Are we going to try to reduce greenhouse gases, or are we focused on reducing energy poverty? Because the other 2 or 3 goals can come together, coalesce. But what is the goal? Because we end up with fancy, lovely, shiny new stuff, technology, and forget our goals. That's what I'm saying, is just focus on the goal, make sure it's achieved. You get bonus, beauty.
Yeah, excellent point. Okay, so we're going to open it up, see if other people have comments. So the only thing I'll say is the same kind of rules we have for our weekly discovery sessions. No sales pitches, no long rants. We appreciate everybody's passion, but we kind of want to try and make sure everybody's heard. So if you have a thought or a comment or something you want to add, try and keep it to under 60 seconds. And also, this is your chance to ask questions too. We didn't have a Q&A session after our speakers. So if you do have a question for one of the speakers or for someone at Efficiency Canada, feel free to do that. So open up the lines, just say hello and your name, and then go for it.
Hi, this is Alex from Guelph. Very quickly, this is just a shout out to Sean Loney and his book, An Army of Problem Solvers, as well as The Beautiful Bailout. Great resources there to talk about how communities can take innovative approaches to energy efficiency, especially First Nations communities.
Thank you, Alex. Do you mind just putting that in the chat so we can immediately Google it and order it? Thanks. Anybody else?
I have a comment. Actually, it's Melton here. It segues exactly what Arif was saying, and also to Chris and Sandy about energy efficiency buildings. We take into consideration what the value of money is, or what the currency will buy us. And if you look at energy as air, and it's available to everybody for free, and that's the world is changing. In Europe, they do amortizations that are 25 and 50 years as a normal. And in fact, not to do it would be a problem. As we move to net zero buildings, what if it went the other way? What if the communities independently, as decentralized systems, even a singular house or a shed, could generate more energy for that particular use as a source, than anything that's getting as far as energy efficiencies delivered through a system. That's a thing that's happening across the planet. We're not going to see it in Canada because the systems are too established, but that is what's happening, is that we're moving from net zero to the other way around, where the equation flips. And there is independence, there is autonomy, and communities, buildings, towns and cities can exist completely energy free of inputs and actually have enough to generate profitability on the output. So I'm looking forward to a really crazy decade ahead as we shift, because the technologies that we have, we can achieve it. The structures that we have are a little challenging to undertake.
And you hit this right on the head. It's really about utilities maintaining their dominant position, not giving up anything. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, we're seeing it now in Ontario with feed-in contracts. People are getting jammed on their bill for large demand charges.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. I mean, this really negates the whole premise. And my colleagues in Belgium, it's legal to trade energy between buildings. So literally, one commercial building has a solar array and there's an apartment next door. They join up and they trade power between the two, and it does not go to the utility. It's a peer-to-peer network. And
I thought that was so funny. I was sitting over coffee in Frankfurt, and someone says, "Hey, Dieter, will you trade me some solar today?" And it's part of the conversation where we don't have those capacities.
I'm just gonna, I do see some people have their hands raised, so I'm gonna try and, if you do have something to say, maybe raise your hand first. So Kirk, we're gonna go to you first, and then David, I know you had something to say, so we're gonna go Kirk, David, and then we'll see. But put your hand, there's a button at the bottom of your Zoom to actually raise your hand, and then I'll see it from there. So Kirk, let's go to you.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to kind of address two things that were raised, and actually one third thing. Jordyn, happy birthday, feliz cumpleaños. But to the point on the payback period, you know, the studies from Europe and also personal experience in doing these programs is that the problem is that the homeowners or the consumers or the renters attach an extremely high discount or hurdle rate to anything about energy efficiency. They discount the savings, they exaggerate the costs, they add risk factors, there's information issues that they don't get a handle on, so they add a fudge factor there. And that's what makes it equivalently to a 2-year payback becomes a 7-year payback in their mind, right? It has to be so brain-free that it has to be super easy. So that's one challenge, and one way to do that is information and capacity building. The other thing I would say is regarding that issue of different goals for different people, experience is that, you know, when we try doing a portfolio approach where it's like there's a certain percentage of the early adopters that are going to go net zero and do the deep retrofits, there's other people that are just going to get, you know, all you can do is move them to maybe get a slightly better furnace or a slightly better air conditioner or Energy Star products, and somewhere in between are the people we can push to air source heat pumps and stuff like that. And giving them those financing programs like LIC and stuff like that, I think will address a lot of those barriers, right? When there's money available through financing and programs available to kind of bridge those information gaps, it'll lower the discount rate and kind of hopefully move us forward a little.
Yeah,
That's just
yeah.
my thoughts.
No, it's really clear. Appreciate that, Kirk. Okay, David Katz, and then we'll see who else has a hand up.
Yeah, I was on a previous webinar on how the big banks are taking, you know, their risk and responsibilities about climate change, not for their buildings as well, but for their customers. And I believe that the banks, when you go to renew your mortgage, should be either giving you that extra money to make an upgrade backed by Enercan or an assessment. Like, let's tie it to something that occurs where people are going and, you know, renewing their mortgage on their home and being told, by the way, we can give you this, but we can also give you this plus that.
Yep, makes sense. Thanks, David. Okay, we have time for a couple more comments. Anybody want to share anything? Looks like Jacqueline Wilson, you got your hand up.
Yeah, Dr. Jacqueline.
Yeah, go ahead, Jacqueline. I see you now.
Great. I just wanted to make have two questions, really. I think we need to think about how to involve communities in the design phase of any of these programs. So obviously one size doesn't fit all across this big country. So And we have lots of different issues across the country in different provinces. So figuring out how to get community input at the design stage is really important. And the second one is just from, I'm a member of the Low Income Energy Network. And one of the interesting issues that we ran into with energy poverty programs in Ontario was that people were really suspicious of programs. So even when they were free, and even when, you know, it was like turnkey solutions, there was a really big suspicion factor to get over. And so that's something to keep in mind, that, you know, it seems too good to be true. So, you know, folks are, you know, really reticent to take part. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think trust is such an important piece of this, as far as the people who are delivering the message. I see Brian Gifford had tried to get his hand up. Brian, can you come off mute? Do you want to say anything?
Yes, I don't know that this has been said, but I mean, with the low income programs that are working really well in Nova Scotia, like, two barriers to participation by low income people is that they don't have the money. So it doesn't matter about payback and stuff, they just don't have the money. So the programs are free and they're comprehensive, like and they're turnkey. So those two elements, being free and being turnkey, take away, they deal with huge barriers to low income participation. And if it's, and a well-designed program needs to be that way. And you're talking about, Efficiency Canada's talking about $2 billion being put into low-income programs, that would enable that kind of program to happen. And then I'd also like to echo what Jacqueline said about trust. Even with these free programs in Nova Scotia, they do find that sometimes people don't believe that it's really true, because there's so many hucksters around, right? So having people who are trusted, well trusted, and who come from the same background, delivering at least the initial contact, really helps with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
People from the same community who look like them, with marginalized communities and that kind of thing, really helps with trust.
Absolutely. Okay, I see there's two more hands up, but they've already spoken, so I will get to you. But if there's anybody who hasn't spoken yet, or is feeling a bit shy, or wants to just put it in the chat, is there anybody who wants to say anything? If not, we'll go to Corey and then Sean, and then we'll lock it down for the night. Okay, so sorry, Chris and then Sean. So Chris Young, then Sean Kelly, and then we'll wrap it up.
My real comment is about split incentives for renters versus homeowners, and that's a real challenge. And I think Brendan knows this intimately. And you know, these are things that are a real issue, and the programs that are put in place are band-aids. And I think it was mentioned by Les that we really should be looking at universal income supports. My view is that there's no such thing as energy poverty. It's just poverty. That's it. That's all. You know, until we address the reality of the situation, then we're not going to get further, because the utilities want to show stuff but not do stuff, and that's because they are gas companies that make money selling gas on a recurring basis. They don't want you to cut the line, and next 10 years will be fun. That's for sure. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, Sean, bring us home.
Yeah, I'll just be really quick, just echo what a lot of people have said, that if we're going to have the impact we want to have, we have to combine the pace, the financing, the rebate style programs with a very fulsome, widespread solidarity grant type of program to address poverty. I feel you can't have one without the other. So those programs are really important. And just to let everyone know, because it's come up a few times, the issue of trust. Here in Nova Scotia Clean, we just finished doing some market research on both financing programs and low income programs, and trust ranked up there really high for almost all participants. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know who to trust. They feel like maybe it's too good to be true, or they're being sold. Someone's just trying to sell them something. Or we say it's free and they'll save money, but there's going to be a bill later. So trust is absolutely critical. So as someone said, who's delivering the messages is important, what the message is, but that trust issue is absolutely key.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. I think it's a great way to end it. Okay, so I want to thank our speakers, Yasmin and Sandy and Jordyn were really inspiring at the outset. I want to thank our moderators who did such a great job keeping us on task and on time, which is great. And most of all, I want to thank Kirstin Pullis, our colleague who's been working tirelessly to pull us together. And it's so great to see everyone's comments who are grateful to us for doing this. This is just the beginning. So it was great to see that there's already been a suggestion of other ways we can pull people together. And we'll definitely take that into consideration as we pull our plans together on what's next. The last thing I'll say, and we do this all the time, if you haven't gone onto our website to take action yet, just in a few clicks, you can send a letter to your MP about why this issue is important. There's been over 190 letters sent in already. We know they're listening. We hear it from MPs all the time that they are now hearing more and more about energy efficiency and the value of this. They need to hear from you. And it only takes 30 seconds. We've made it easy for you. So go to efficiencycanada.org. In the top right, it'll say take action. That's your first click. Your second click is putting in your postal code and your name. And the third click is just hitting send. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to all our speakers and for all of you for sticking around and participating. We really, really are grateful to all your support and participation in this. And we'll see you down the road. Thanks very much.